Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at Luke chapter 12 today, and wow, this chapter's just packed. It's really dense, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It swings from, these intense warnings to parables, direct commands. It covers so much ground.
Yeah, hypocrisy, fear, money, worry, division, being ready.
Yeah.
It's all in there. So our mission really is to try and unpack it, pull out the key ideas for you listening.
And what's really striking is how Jesus moves between talking very directly to his disciples and then addressing this huge crowd. It's like he's navigating these big life themes for both intimate followers and the general public.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene. The text says there are thousands of people. I mean, thousands. So many that they're literally trampling each other. It sounds like chaos.
Utter chaos. Yeah.
And right in the middle of that, Jesus starts speaking. But interestingly, he turns to his disciples first. And the first thing he hits on, hypocrisy, calls it the yeast of the Pharisees.
Mm-hmm. Starting there is significant. It's like saying this internal inconsistency, this fakeness is the most corrosive thing.
And then straight after that, this line, there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed. Basically, what's hidden comes out. Whispers end up shouted from the rooftops.
Which ties right back to hypocrisy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If everything eventually comes to light, then, well, authenticity isn't just a virtue. It's kind of inevitable. Your hidden motives, your secret actions, they won't stay hidden.
That feels like a natural lead-in to the next point about fear. Because if everything's coming out, maybe you fear exposure. But he says, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that can do no more. Their power is limited.
Precisely. Their ultimate reach is only physical, temporary.
But then he pivots. He says there is someone, or rather a power, you should fear. Who's that?
He says, fear him who, after the killing of the body, has power to throw you into hell. He actually says, yes, I tell you, fear him. It's a stark contrast, earthly power versus divine eternal power. It totally reframes who or what holds ultimate consequence.
Okay, but then almost immediately after that really heavy warning comes this incredibly tender moment. It's like a counterbalance.
Yeah, it's quite the shift.
He uses these simple examples. Sparrows. Aren't 5 sold for just pennies, yet not one of them is forgotten by God.
Such a small, seemingly insignificant thing.
And then even more personal. Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered. I mean, wow, the takeaway is so direct. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. It connects your value directly to the one he just told you to fear.
Exactly. It's profound. If God's attention extends to tracking individual disposable sparrows and numbering hairs, this image of just meticulous, intimate care, then how much more are you as an individual known and valued? It's the bedrock reason not to be paralyzed by earthly threats, even death. That detailed care covers you.
And knowing that value seems crucial for the next bit about acknowledgement. It's like, if you know you're that valued, maybe you have the courage to acknowledge me before men.
Right.
And the stakes are high. Acknowledge him, and Son of Man acknowledges you before the angels, but disown him.
And you'll be disowned before the angels. It ties your public stance, your allegiance, to your ultimate standing. It's not just a momentary thing. It has eternal resonance.
And speaking of high stakes, this is where that really difficult saying comes in about blasphemy against the Holy Spirit.
It's a tough thing.
He says speaking against the Son of Man can be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Holy Spirit won't be forgiven. It just states it right there.
It does. It presents this distinction as, well, a hard reality without unpacking the why in this specific passage. It just stands there as a solemn warning.
Okay, so moving from those deep spiritual realities to something very practical. Facing opposition, getting dragged before synagogues, rulers, authorities. What's the advice? Don't stress about your defense speed.
Pretty much. Do not worry about how you will defend yourselves or what you will say. It's radical, really. Forget the rehearsed lines, because the Holy Spirit will teach you at that time what you should say. It's this call to complete reliance on divine guidance in the moment of pressure when you're face-to-face with earthly power. Trust the Spirit to give you the words.
But you just had this intense sequence: hypocrisy, fear, God's care, eternal stakes, relying on the Spirit, and then suddenly someone from the crowd just shouts out.
Yeah, completely breaks the flow, doesn't it?
Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me, just like that. And Jesus' response is equally blunt. Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?
That interruption is so human, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of these profound teachings, someone's worried about money, about family disputes. And Jesus refusing that role, refusing to be a small claims judge, basically is telling.
How so?
Well, it instantly highlights the contrast between the eternal things he was talking about and the very earthly material concerns that preoccupy people. And it perfectly sets up his next big warning. Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist of the abundance of his possessions. And then he launches into that famous parable.
Ah, the parable of the rich fool.
Exactly. Guy's got a bumper crop, more than he knows what to do with.
So his plan, build bigger barns, store it all up, and then
Kick back and enjoy it. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. Sounds like a solid retirement plan.
from a purely worldly perspective, absolutely. He's set for life, he thinks. But then comes God's perspective. You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?
Oof, that hits hard.
It does. And the conclusion hammers it home. This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself but is not rich toward God. The message is crystal clear. Hoarding material wealth is foolish because life itself is fragile, unpredictable. Real wealth, the kind that matters eternally, is about your relationship with God. It forces you, the listener, to ask, what am I really rich in? And that flows straight into the next section about worry, doesn't it? Don't worry about basic needs. Life, food, body, clothes. Because life is more than food and the body more than clothes.
Yes, and he uses nature again. Remember the sparrows? Now it's the ravens. They don't sow or reap or have barns, yet God feeds them.
And the lilies. They don't toil or spin, yet Solomon, in all his glory, wasn't dressed as beautifully.
These aren't just, pretty pictures. They're presented as evidence. Look how God provides for creation. So why are you, who are worth so much more, consumed by anxiety about these things?
Plus the practical point. Can worry add even an hour to your life?
Right. It's useless. Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? If you can't even do that tiny thing, why worry about the bigger stuff?
It's ineffective, basically.
Totally ineffective and, according to the text, unnecessary for those who trust God. He contrasts this with the pagan world, those who don't know God, who do run after these things. But for his followers, your Father knows that you need them. He's aware. He cares.
So instead of worrying, what's the alternative?
It's an active redirection. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well.
So focus on the kingdom first.
Exactly. Shift your primary energy, your focus, your seeking toward God's priorities, his rule, his kingdom. And the promise attached is that the material necessities, the things others stress about, will be taken care of as a consequence. It's a call to trust that prioritizing the eternal yields material provision.
And again, there's that comforting phrase, do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom.
Little flock. It's so intimate. And the idea that God is pleased to give the kingdom. It frames it as a gift, not something earned through anxious effort. And this gift, the kingdom itself, becomes the source of security, the reason you don't need to be afraid or worry about lesser things.
And this brings the whole possessions discussion full circle with that really direct instruction. Sell your possessions and give to the poor.
Which sounds radical, I know, but it's immediately linked to why.
Right. It's about creating treasure in heaven. Purses that don't wear out, treasure no thief can steal, no moth can destroy.
So it's presented as like the ultimate investment strategy. You liquidate temporary, vulnerable assets, earthly stuff, and transfer that value to a permanent, secure account, heavenly treasure, by giving it away to those in need.
And the principle behind it all. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
That line is so powerful. It basically says, show me where you invest your time, your money, your energy, your treasure, and I'll show you what you truly love, what really holds your heart. If it's all tied up in earthly things, that's where your heart is. If it's invested in eternal things like helping others and seeking the kingdom, then your heart is oriented towards God. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where's my treasure? And what does that say about my heart?
Okay, big shift now. Shifting gears completely, it feels like. The next major theme is readiness. Watching.
Yes, the imagery is very vivid.
Be dressed ready for service and keep your lamps burning. Like servants waiting up for the master to get back from a wedding feast, poised to open the door the second he knocks.
It's this picture of active waiting, constant preparedness. And then there's that really surprising twist in the parable.
Which part?
The part where if the master finds them ready and watching, he, the master, will dress himself to serve, have them sit down, and he will wait on them.
Whoa, okay. That flips the script.
Completely. The faithful servants are rewarded with the master serving them. It's an incredible image of the master's character and the value he places on faithfulness.
And the timing is key. Could be late, second or third watch of the night. Doesn't matter when, just be ready.
The unpredictability is crucial. He uses the thief analogy. If you knew when the thief was coming, you'd be prepared.
So the point is,
You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Since you don't know the hour, the only sensible response is constant readiness.
got it. And this is where Peter chimes in, right? He asks, basically, is this just for us leaders or for everyone?
Yeah, good old Peter, always asking the practical questions. And Jesus responds, but not with a simple yes or no. He pivots again to another parable,
The faithful and wise manager.
right? Which shifts the focus from just being ready to being responsible while you wait. A master puts a manager in charge, specifically to give the other servants their food on time.
And if the manager is found doing his job faithfully when the master returns,
They reward. He gets put in charge of everything the master owns. Faithfulness in the specific task leads to greater responsibility.
but there's the flip side. The manager who thinks, the boss is away, party time, starts abusing the staff, eating, drinking, getting drunk.
The consequence for him is sudden and severe. Master comes back unexpectedly. The text says he'll cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers. It's about accountability. He was trusted with a job and failed miserably.
And then there's that subtle but important point about punishment varying based on knowledge.
Yes, that's crucial. The servant who knew the master's will but ignored it gets many blows. But the one who didn't know and did wrong unknowingly gets few blows.
So more knowledge means more responsibility.
Exactly. The principle is stated very clearly. From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who's been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. It means your level of accountability is directly tied to what you've received, whether that's knowledge, resources, opportunities, whatever. It really makes you consider, what have I been given much of, and what does that demand of me?
Okay, entering the final stretch of the chapter now, and it gets, well, pretty intense again. Some really challenging statements.
Definitely.
Jesus says, I have come to bring fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. Fire. What's that about?
It's potent language. Fire often symbolizes purification or judgment, or even maybe a kind of divine energy or passion. It's definitely not passive.
And then maybe even more startling. Do you think I came to bring peace on earth? No, I tell you, but division. That feels counterintuitive for many people.
It does, because we often associate him with peace. But here, he's saying his message, his very presence will inevitably cause a split. It will force a choice, and that choice creates division between those who accept him and those who reject him.
And he doesn't mince words about how deep that division goes, right into families.
Yeah, the examples are stark. Father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, even mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. The closest human bonds.
It suggests the allegiance he's calling for might even override those natural ties.
It implies the choices that fundamental, yes. The cost of following could be incredibly high, relationally speaking.
Then he turns back to the crowd, and he calls them out for being good weather forecasters but terrible interpreters of the present time.
Right. They see a cloud in the west, they know rain's coming, feel the south wind, know it'll be hot. They can read the physical signs perfectly.
But he says, hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? What's this present time they're missing?
It seems to be about recognizing the significance of what's happening right then and there. His presence, his teaching, the implications of the kingdom arriving. They're skilled at writing the mundane signs, but blind to the huge spiritual reality unfolding before them. It's a call for deeper discernment.
And the chapter ends with this almost strangely practical piece of advice after all the fire and division talk. Why don't you judge for yourselves what is right?
Yeah, it seems a bit grounded after the high-level stuff.
He uses the example of settling a dispute with someone while you're on the way to the magistrate. Settle it quickly before it gets official, and you end up in jail until you pay the last penny.
It's just good practical wisdom, isn't it? Resolve conflict proactively before it escalates and you lose control. But maybe connecting it back to judge for yourselves what is right.
Yeah.
Maybe it implies that this kind of practical, righteous judgment in everyday disputes is part of interpreting the present time correctly. Discernment isn't just about understanding theology. It's about acting wisely and justly in your daily interactions, taking responsibility for making things right.
Wow. So, recapping Luke 12, we went from hypocrisy and the inevitability of truth to feeling God, not man, to his incredible care for us, the high stakes of acknowledging him, the warning about the Holy Spirit, relying on the Spirit under pressure.
Then the interruption about inheritance, leading to warnings against greed, the rich fool, the call not to worry but to seek the kingdom, selling possessions for heavenly treasure.
Then the need for constant readiness, like watchful servants, the accountability of managers, punishment based on knowledge.
And finally, the confronting reality of bringing fire and division, the call to interpret the present time, and the practical wisdom of judging rightly and settling disputes. It's just a lot.
It really is. But does it feel connected? Is there a thread holding it all together?
I think so. It feels like a sustained call to reorient your entire life. Away from superficiality, away from fear of humans, away from obsession with material things and anxieties, and toward authenticity, trust in God's provision, eternal priorities, responsible action, and constant readiness for God's kingdom and his return. It's about living fully aware of eternal realities in the midst of earthly pressures.
So, thinking about all that, the warnings, the promises, the commands, here's something to chew on. Considering everything packed into this single chapter, hypocrisy, greed, worry, readiness, division, judging rightly, what is the single most challenging call to action for you right now, personally? Which part really lands and makes you think, oof, I need to work on that? Something to really reflect on.
Absolutely. Engaging with these texts isn't just academic, it's deeply personal. There's always something there that speaks directly to where we are.